Welcome, everybody, to our Adapt to Impact office hours for September 24th. Our topic today is back to school tools and strategies. And this is an extension of last month's topic, which was back to school routines. Okay, for anyone who hasn't attended before, this is our team. We are the ones creating resources for you and here to coach and support you as needs arise. What are adaptive toys and equipment? Just so that we're on the same page as we explore some of these tools I'm going to share with you today, I wanted to share a definition with you of what is considered adaptive equipment and or toys. I have adaptive equipment and toys refer to tools, devices, or supports intentionally modified or designed to help children with disabilities participate more fully in everyday routines and activities. There are adaptive tools for every area of development. They could look like specialized equipment, such as wheelchairs and communication devices, or toys that have been adapted with simplified controls, larger buttons, switch access technology, or tactile enhancements to support independent play. Commonly found objects and toys could also be considered adaptive when they are used to help a child to do something they could not otherwise do. For example, using a weighted lap pad or bubble timer to help a child stay with the group during circle time, or a bowl with a suction cup on it to help a child feed themselves if they have some mobility issues. These toys open doors to meaningful interaction, learning, and joy, especially for children with motor challenges, sensory differences, or developmental delays by removing barriers that traditional toys may present. And in the picture, I have adaptive scissors, and these are different. This is actually a set you can check out from our library if you need adaptive scissors to help kids participate in arts and crafts or cutting activities you guys do. So, supports for waiting and walking in line. It's funny, waiting and walking in line is a learned skill, which is easy to forget for adults because we do it all the time. We wait in line at the grocery store, we wait in line at Starbucks for coffee, we wait in line in traffic, waiting our turn to drive. So it's ingrained in adults, but it really is a learned skill for children. And so it's a common area of struggle at the beginning of the school year, or as you add new children to your program throughout the year. And it can be especially challenging for children with disabilities who struggle with impulsivity, sensory struggles, or difficulty with transitions. So there are tools you can try. And we have some of these in our loan library you can check out if you're interested. But you could try things like walking ropes with handles, using visuals like a first then board, or waiting spots. And I don't know if I invented the term waiting spots, but what I mean by waiting spots is designating like areas visually for children to learn to stand or wait in. And I know when I had a preschool classroom, one of our licensing requirements was that every child wash their hands upon entering the classroom. And as many of you have seen when you have a sink full of running water at child height, it's a pretty big attraction. So instead of having them all rush to the sink, I actually cut out construction paper spots. They were all shapes and different colors of construction paper, and I laminated them and I taped them to the floor in a line in front of the sink so the kids could learn like where their body was supposed to be while they're waiting in line, but also learn to identify colors and shapes. Anyway, so that was one tool that helped me. But another one I'm going to show you guys on an upcoming slide are glitter spots. So they are little circles that have oil and glitter in them, and you can move them to different areas wherever you're trying to have kids learn to wait, sit, stand, or take turns. But you can put them like if you're trying to teach kids to line up to go out the door to recess or line up to wait for parents. They're great to give them a designated spot, like this is where your feet belong, or this is where your body belongs. Or if you sit, like sitting and reading books. You can also have them sit on them to give them a designated area for their little bodies to learn where I'm supposed to be. Um, let's see. But what strategies have you guys used for helping children wait or walk in line? Any that worked or any that didn't work?
I would say I have what I would call the waiting spots too. Mine were actually from COVID. They were stickers, stay 6 feet away, the little footprints. But instead, I put them on the wall and line them up. So we don't line up very often, just when we're taking turns to wash hands.
Mhm.
And it was working, but then we started fighting about the colors. And then we started fighting about some other things. So I had to get creative and make some changes. So now we only have blue and green and they alternate. And then on top of that, I wrote numbers 1 through 5 on them so they can see them move up in the line where they eventually get to be number one. And
Mhm.
then to help them wait in line, I have magnet boards on that wall. And while they're waiting, they can play with the storyboard magnets.
That's brilliant. I love it. You're keeping them busy while they have to wait. You're teaching them early numeracy skills, sequencing. That's awesome. That's so good. I love that idea.
And for
Um,
me, I take the kids every day to the playground, and because we all walk to the playground, I told them, okay, who's ready to go to the mailbox? And everybody run to the mailbox. I will pick up my hands with 2 fingers or three fingers. I will ask how many fingers I have in my hands
mhm.
up, and they will let me know. And then after they are done, they will say, okay, let's go to the next mailbox. But and if they not listen, they know they're privileged to walk alone like a big kids. A takeaway, they will have to hold the wagon with me. That's
Yeah.
how they listen. They just want to be free. They just need to follow directions. If not, they will have to walk with me.
Yeah, I love that. And it's giving them support. It's not a punishment. It's like, hey, I'm here and I will help you. I will help you do this. I love that and giving them a target of what to look for and something physical. You can touch it, you know where your body belongs, and you're also keeping them safe. I love it. That's great. Anybody else? Okay. I can give you an example of a strategy that didn't work for me once, and I had to change it. I actually used the walking rope with handles with preschoolers I worked with, and it worked for most of the kids most of the time. But I remember adding a little guy to my program who was a runner, and he was fast, you guys. And so I tried to teach him to hold the handle to walk in line, and one time. It was his first or second day using the rope with the handle, and he bolted, but he was holding on to the handle, and we had total dominoes of the whole line of kids all tumbled. Um, and no one was hurt, thank goodness. But I was like, oh, that is the downside to using the walking rope with handles. If someone runs with it, everyone will tumble. But we did what you mentioned about like being there as a support or a guide. We put an adult next to that little one and said, like, okay, it's time to hold the handle. But then we were there in case he decided to bolt again. And so it never happened again. And that tool eventually really worked well for him. It just took us practice. Anyway, okay. Oh, and you guys have mentioned, a couple of you mentioned using songs to help shape the energy or the tone of your program or the kids. You can also use songs with rhythm or games that pace movement to practice the skills of waiting and walking in line. Like you can use red light, green light, or if you've ever heard the song, going on a bear hunt, but things that help them learn to control their little bodies and walk together as a group.
Let's go marching.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. The ants go marching is a great one. Thank you.
Sometimes I told them fly like a butterfly to wherever. I give a distance, a tree, a rock, a
Yes.
sign, to stamp like an elephant, just something to do.
Yes. And you are engaging their bodies. You're also giving them an opportunity to be imaginative, and it adds buy-in when it's fun, right? If it's not, I told you all to line up, it's, hey, fly like a butterfly. There's a little more buy-in for young kids. I love that. Okay, so let's jump into Sitting at circle time. So just like learning to wait in line, turn taking, all of those pieces, they are learned behaviors and don't necessarily come naturally for every child. So challenges for learning to sit at circle time are things like attention, posture, like if they don't have the muscle tone to sit upright or in a supported stance, that could help. It's harder to pay attention. Sensory struggles or communication barriers. So we have tools to help support that in our loan library. You could use things like wobble cushions that give them a little more input of like where their body is supposed to be in space. Like we talked about floor spots with textures, and weighted lap. I said weighted lap buddies. We have that little red dog who you can put on a shoulder or a lap. We also have lap weights, that give them a little extra sensory input of like, this is where my body is supposed to be. Um, let's see. You can offer movement breaks before and after circle time. And I'm going to show you in an upcoming slide, but we are currently giving out free animal action cards to anyone who checks out something from our library. But they are just like one of you mentioned, flying like a butterfly or standing like an elephant. That is what the animal action cards do. They give you different uh, movements or sensory activities to help get their wiggles out, or help them regroup and be ready to learn. Okay, so for a discussion, I would love to know how you know when a child needs a different kind of support at circle time. Like, what behaviors do you observe where you're like, oh, this kid could use something different to help them function here?
I think when the kids are too not paying attention or not interested in the story is when you just will say, wow, look at the pictures. What you see, what you notice. I wonder what's gonna be in the next page.
Yep, getting that buy-in. I love that hook. And I saw falling out of chairs. That's a good one. Yep, falling out of chairs, inattention. Yeah, those are great. So, what could you do for those children if you're seeing them like fall out of chairs? I mean, you already gave an example, which was great about getting buy-in, like, or building anticipation. Like, what's next? What could be in this book? Lying on the floor is a great one where you're like, this kid needs a little extra. Okay. I love to use fidgets. Yes, fidgets. They help a lot to keep little hands busy, keep their bodies in the right area where you need them to be to learn. And sometimes kids learn better when their hands are busy. But I have a story about using a fidget. Oh, we've got another one. Either try a different style of chair, turn it into a different, or turn it in a different direction, offer a wobble cushion. Good. Um, so I used to have fidgets that were in the shape of a ball and they had different sensory input. They had different textures. Most of the kids really liked them. And I had one particular child who, when I handed him the fidget, he needed it. He needed something, but he would throw it. Um, and so I had to step back and think about it. Like, does he really need a fidget? Or do I need to accommodate the fidget? And when I looked at his body, like, and I was noticing some of the things you guys have mentioned, laying on the floor, running away, refusal, I knew he needed something, but a ball to that child and to many 3-year-olds, if you hand them a ball, they will throw it. It seems pretty natural and a natural thing to do. So I gave him double-sided sticky tape and he could stick it on one hand and like pass it back and forth. He could stick it to his chair, he could pull it off. But it was a fidget that kept his little hands busy, kept him in his seat, and he couldn't throw it, which really worked well. I've tried pipe cleaners as well for the same reason. They can roll them around their fingers, stretch them out, make accordions, but they're less likely to throw them.
I was just saying, I'm a speech language pathologist, so I have this, laser focus on developing speech and language and vocabulary. And I feel like sometimes I noticed kids struggling because they were struggling to follow along. The comprehension, the language comprehension might have been a challenge for some kids. And so anytime I could infuse movements or objects or manipulatives and make those objects and manipulatives pattern the verbs in the book, handing those objects and manipulatives off to the kids, sometimes I think it helped with understanding and comprehension. And then I was able to get a little more engagement and hopefully, understanding of the words in the book. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And I know a number of you work with English language learners, and that same concept applies. If you don't understand what's being said or the words in the book you're hearing, it's so easy to lay on the floor and check out. So it's really important to give, yeah, like making it concrete, giving them manipulatives, engaging them as you go. And another important piece, I think, is keeping circle time short. Especially when you're working with, I know some of you are working with 2-year-olds. 2-year-olds have such a short attention span. So that might be like a book, reading, or reading the abridged version of a book. If a book has 25 pages and 2-year-olds can sit through 3, you might have to read a couple words or point out the pictures in a book. And then as they get older, expand. And if some of you are working with 5 or 6-year-olds, a 15-minute circle time might work totally fine with them. So really engage your audience and use a lot of trial and error. Okay, so up next, we have using visual timers. Visual timers are some of my all-time favorite tools for kids, especially young children who don't have a firm grasp of time, right? If you don't understand math and what the equivalent of 5 minutes is, you could tell a 2 or 3-year-old, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And that might be this second to them or an eternity, like you're never coming back. So visual timers help. They help establish predictability. They support transitions. They support emotional regulation. And as you can see from these examples of visual timers, we have, I mentioned time timers, this top one with the red time that minimizes as the timer goes, sand timers, and color-coded timers for routines. Visual timers take the concept of time and make it concrete for young children who don't grasp the concept of time yet. I used this time tracker, this 3-color timer. It has auditory cues and visual cues. It speaks to you, and it also has a tone as the lights change. I used that one for predictable changes in routine, like the end of center time play. So if you have kids who have really highly preferred activities like playing in the sand table, or if they really love blocks, they get to hear that warning of like, okay, 10 minutes left, now 5 minutes left, and they see the colors change as it goes. That can be really helpful. One of my favorite things about sand timers is if you buy the plastic ones, you can really empower kids to start understanding the concept of time and also helping them learn it as a strategy on their own. So once you teach them how to use sand timers, if you have 5 children who want to play with one toy, you can teach them like, oh, you get 5 minutes, and you can turn a sand timer and then say, and then it's your turn. And they can start to get this, like go and get the sand timer on their own to resolve conflicts with peers and learn turn taking. Anyway, so I love those ones. Let's see. Oh, and also a strategy tip I have for you guys is pairing timers with verbal countdowns and visual cues. So that might be a first to then board, like, in 5 or 10 seconds until recess. And if you had a first then board, like, you could have playing like circle time on one side and then snack, or circle time, then outside play, or whatever it is. And so they can see what's coming next after that time runs out. That might help children who struggle with transitions. Um, okay, so in what or which activities during your day could you use a visual timer? Do any of you have examples?
I do use how you said. I use when the kids want to play with one toy and the kid kind of say, it's mine. I said, well, the kids are already understand when you need a timer, when somebody is playing with the toy that you need. And even the 2-year-old kid they have, he's very good. He goes and reach and kind of tap to the other kid and let them know, hey, I'm putting the time. I would like to play with that toy.
I love
Um,
that. I love it. Yeah.
Also, I
Mhm.
have a visual just for whoever they need that. We come, we have breakfast, we do table activity, we do, sometimes like I see the way they behave and say, it's okay. I know you want to go outside, but you see, we're going to do this. Next, we do that. And after that, we do this, going outside or whatever is the case.
Yeah.
But even taking pictures of the kids doing things, it
Hmm.
helps because with that, you show this is what we're doing, this is what is next.
Yeah. I love that. You are empowering them to understand a routine, a schedule, what comes next. All of those pieces are teaching them a concept of time too. I love that you're doing that. I was thinking, I worked with a provider last year who said every time she went to use the bathroom, she had a little one in her program who would have a huge meltdown. She really struggled with separation from her parents, and then when she would get to her childcare, she really struggled with that separation piece, even for something like 2 minutes to use the bathroom. And so I worked with that provider to use the time timer, this same timer with this where it shows the time decreasing. And so she could put that in this little 2-year-old's hand and say, I will be back in 2 minutes, and physically put the timer in her hands so she could watch it and wait while that provider used the bathroom. And it was something so simple, but it worked. She said she only had to use it like 3 or 4 times, and then that little one was okay with her going to use the bathroom. Um, but it's hard, especially when kids are separating from parents too so often for the first time. That concept of time is really scary. Let's see, anything else on timers?
Transition time, especially when cleaning up is involved. I so remember this happening. Like we would have times built in the schedule where the kids got to choose their own free play time and what they were going to do. And those were always the most difficult transitions. And
Mhm.
having these little extra visuals around just made it so much easier. Because of course they're doing what they want, they've self-selected, and so getting them to move in another direction is a little extra hard. And so having one of these tools helps out so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great one. Thank you. Okay, so next, um, I wanted to share a little bit about matching tools to needs or figuring out like what tools are best for which kids or which need. And I wanted to say it's okay to not have an idea of what to try next for every scenario. Not every tool is going to work for every situation. Trial and error is key. And even depending on the day, and what state that child is in. If you hand a child who's having an epic meltdown a timer, it may get thrown. But if you hand that same child a timer before they are in that escalated state, it might hit home and they might totally understand what that timer is for and how to use it. So try different tools, use trial and error. Try to introduce tools like timers or adaptive seating or fidgets when they are calm and more able to learn rather than in the heat of the moment. I mean, don't avoid using them in the heat of the moment, but also teach them in those calm, regulated times. So when you present them in a really difficult moment, they're more likely to understand what to do with that tool. Um, but always, so yes, use trial and error. And there are always more ideas out there to try. I rely on colleagues. In this field, especially, we have so many colleagues who have a wealth of knowledge and experience. I mean, so many of you have been working with children for a long time and have so many stories to share, so many tips or tricks. Um, so yeah, use each other for ideas. You can reach out to our team at any time. I love to ask parents, especially so many of the children you guys are working with aren't talking yet. And parents know what calms or interests their child. And sometimes it's little things we never think of that are actually pretty simple or easy to implement at school or in a childcare program. Let's see. Also, you can bring questions to our office hours at any time, and you don't have to do it alone. Also, here's a plug. Use our loan library too. We have a lot of great tools in there. You guys can explore, check out, see what works for you guys and the kids you're working with as well. So I will show you some of those. Okay, these are some examples of tools in our loan library that might help you get into the groove. Teaching social emotional skills, using timers. If any of you haven't used the Pyramid Model Classroom Kit, I used to use it in my classroom and it's phenomenal. It has really cute things like how to be a super friend, and it teaches, there's a social story. It teaches things like how to have safe hands and what to do if you're upset and turn taking, sharing, all kinds of great things like that. In the corner down here, these are the glitter spots that you can use for teaching sitting or standing or waiting in line. Or even if you're working with infants, they're awesome for tummy time too. They can lay on their bellies and watch the glitter move and the oil as they touch them or pat them or roll on them. And they're washable, which is great. We also have this vibrating cushion that you can put in a chair or under feet or on a lap for kids who need extra sensory input to learn to sit. Yeah, the Social Explorers series is a series of social stories that teaches a lot of different things about routines and coming to school and self-regulation. But I'm going to pull up our loan library here to show you. I created well, I think I'm pulling it up. Let's see. Hopefully, here we go. Okay. All right. Can you see the loan library?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is the homepage for our loan library. And I created a list for you if you want just a quick way to find these items I'm showing you. This is in our back to school tools. And I think, was it you that mentioned the animal or like uh, walking like an animal, flying like a butterfly, or stomping like an elephant, things like that. But we have two sets of animal action cards. These are the ones you guys can get for free if you check anything out from our library right now. But they have both set, I think it's 25 cards a piece with different actions they can do. They're really fun to use as a wiggle break before you teach something um, or like during transitions, even like if I'm sending kids to go get their backpack, they could pick one of those and it could be like walk like a giraffe and they can walk like a giraffe to get their backpack or things like that.
Even as an activity when
Yes.
it's small, hey guys, let's play the cards. Everybody can pick one. It is fun. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and even on days you can't go outside, like if I don't know if it's smoky right now from forest fires for you, but I know we definitely have had days where we couldn't go and play outside, and but they need to get their wiggles out, and these are a great idea for like inside days, or if the weather's really cold, or if it's too hot. But adding these in gets some of that energy out, and it also focuses them too, so it's not just mayhem. Okay, so there's a bunch of different things. There's some adaptive seating on this list. This little step stool is here for, like, I briefly mentioned positioning as a struggle for circle time. Like, if the kid's falling out of a chair, they might need one of these little footstools underneath their feet to give them extra stability in their core to be able to sit well in their chair. So that's why that's on there. But there are a bunch of different fun sensory things. Magnetic visual schedule, which one of you mentioned using a visual schedule. This is really cool because they're magnetic. You can put them, if you have metal doors, you can put it on the door. You can wash them. You can put them on a whiteboard, and it comes with a little board. But it's one of my favorite tools. We have lots of timers and sensory supports. So check that out when you get a chance. Okay.
And this is in any library.
No, this is in our, so we created a loan library of different tools. And I'll show you how, I think my next slide is about how to get access if you don't have it already. Let me pull that up for you. Here we go. Okay, so in order to get access to this sidelibrary.com, you need to first complete the Introduction to Universal Design course. It's on PDIS, and then one additional Adapting for Disability course, and we have 5 of them on PDIS. And so I'll show you the list. Here's the list of 5. All of these courses will give you a certificate for continuing ed credits. But they're all available on PDIS. If you complete just the Introduction to Universal Design, you'll have limited access to the library, so you'll have a few items you can check out. But just completing one additional course will give you access to the entire rest of the library. And you guys, we have a ton of really cool tools and supports in there. And we have light boards and manipulatives to go with them. We have social emotional curriculum. We have all kinds of different adaptive equipment, like adaptive art equipment. We have a lot of different toys and Switch adaptive toys, and for a variety of ages too, like infant through like age 6. Let's see. And like I mentioned earlier, if you check anything out from our library, you'll get a deck of animal action cards with 25 cards you can use to help kids get focused or take quick intentional breaks, or also as an activity. Anyway, so those, and if you would like to watch a video of how to use those animal action cards, we have a bit.ly link for you. Down here, it's bit.ly/pushcide, and you can watch those used in a video. We also have, so I'm going to pull up some more resources we have for you guys.
And we'll send this out to everybody afterwards so that you have access to all the links.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, you guys, my computer is freezing. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we also have a Google folder for you. Any of those email resources you get from us, there's a PDF of each one in our Adapt to Impact Google Drive. We also, if we mention things like first then boards, we have printables of those also in our Google Drive. So that is a great place to find resources if you're looking for them. And all links, like Chris just mentioned, we'll send you links, any links we mention throughout this presentation, but also I'm recording this today so you can have access to it on our YouTube channel, and we'll put links also in the YouTube description or in the notes under the YouTube video. And we will send out the recording, the YouTube recording of this in an email to you in the next few days. And here is our contact information if you don't have our website, email, or phone number. And then, and now is a great time for questions or comments. I know we actually had a provider who couldn't attend today who's going to watch the recording. She sent in a question for us to discuss with the group today. Chris, do you want to pull that up and we can start with her question? And then if anybody else has any questions or topics you'd love to learn about or any type of discussion, you can jump in as well.
Okay, so here's our scenario. We have a 2 to 3-year-old room, and one of the children is about 2.5 years old. and came into the classroom not speaking at all. This child comes from a family that is bilingual, English-Spanish. He's already in a little bit of speech therapy, had been doing pretty well until a younger child joined the household, an 8-month-old. And then they started to see some regression with this child, and some behaviors, some hitting and throwing, as well as throwing himself down on the floor and kind of flailing around. Thankfully, there have been no injuries so far, but the team is concerned about self-injurious behaviors. So far, they're trying to follow along with the speech therapist's recommendations. They're using both English and Spanish, as well as some sign language with him. But this child is still not speaking. And so the question is, as we often do, we put this out to the group to see if you've experienced anything like this and what kinds of solutions have worked for you in the past. Any ideas how we might help support this provider?
I think 101 and kind of know what the kid is interested. As if trains, they say, oh, look at the train. Can you say train, put the guy and this baby in the train, little by little, work one word at a time. Don't put too much. But also, I think personally, we will know it that kid's able to know and he don't want to speak. Because there's a lot of kids that don't want to repeat until they're ready to get the words out of their mouth. I have a little baby right now that she is 11 months, and I know for sure, long ago, she already can wave and everything. But she wasn't ready until probably this week she started hi and waving, hi, and the hi come out together with the waving. But also I know it's a lot of sometimes the parents, we think they're too young, and I'm sorry I get in my face now. Even these parents brought me this little one. She already was 4 months, almost 5, and they holding her like a little newborn baby, supporting the head and the back, everything. And as soon as she passed her to me, I get her upright, supporting her back and everything. I said, you need to help her to know that she have muscles they need to learn to use. Because if we don't give the chance and the opportunity to baby grow, it's gonna be a very slow process. And sooner or later, soon the baby start holding better her neck and everything. But we take care of the babies as a way younger. And I understand these parents already lost a baby, don't know the circumstance or anything, and they were so careful with her. Mm-hmm. Then I understand that. But as a providers, we need to let them know babies will learn. Mm-hmm. Babies born to learn right away. Little by little, the mind don't know everything, we will say or anything, but they little by little, they get it into their brain and everything get processed, pretty good. And the same, you see the face, the facial body language and everything when a little one understand what you try to say or wait, I will say wait. And they know, sometimes I move my hands and they know I'm saying wait.
I think the things that came to mind for me immediately was visuals, right? So anytime I might offer a directive or offer choices, I would probably be trying to infuse some visuals. So regardless of whether I'm using English or Spanish, there's another way for that child to be understanding what I'm saying, but then also offering visuals to that child to communicate back to me. So that seemed like something I would probably pursue right away. And the other thing that came to mind for me was having a firm understanding of what the precursory environment and situation might be before some of these behaviors that they're concerned about might be. Is there a person that's standing too close, or is there a child who is engaging in behavior nearby that doesn't fit with their social cultural norms at home that might be confusing or distressing to the child? Is it certain activities or certain noises in the room that maybe is precursory to some of the behaviors? And is there anything that we could do then to kind of ward them off, to control that environment and change that environment so that it's easier for that child to understand and feel comfortable? I always like to kind of keep a diary, right? Like if something goes off, like immediately look around and start taking some notes about what was happening right before the meltdown.
Not only that, but consistency in what you do with the children were great.
Yeah.
I have a set of twins. Here in my care, I have no problem with them at all. I had the therapist coming. I said, personally, I had no problem with the kids at all. I said, well, if you go to the house, it's a chaos. They're screaming, they're crying for everything. And just only because the parents think because there are two kids, they already in their mind, it is too hard. It's two kids. I told them, I said, it's gonna be a class for parents, it's coming soon. And it will be nice that you guys, be able to go. And right away, the father said, is it for twins?
Oh.
I said, I care for 8 kids. I think pretty sure they were for twins.
Yeah.
But never ask, hey, where is the class or anything, But I think consistent and I don't know what else you can put to the kids. They just very capable to understand what you need from them. And the only one that you be there for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was thinking, I love what you just said about they want to know that you're there for them. I think about what this provider messaged us too. She was saying a new baby is in this home, right? And so what happens when a new baby is in a home? A lot of times you see children regress, whether that's potty training or their behavior. But I think they want exactly what you just said, that I am seen and I am heard. And this little one is not verbal yet, so they don't have words to say, hey, remember me, I have needs. There's an imposter in this house. Remember me? So instead of being able to say, hey, this baby is running the show here, they might hit, they might lay on the floor, they might kick, they might scream. And so I think what you said of letting them know, like, I'm here for you, we're here, and your behavior is communicating something. You are telling us something with these meltdowns. And then trying to pair, one of you mentioned trying to give them the words, like pairing. So if they're, 2-year-olds, right, learn the word no, and they love to exercise the word no. And maybe this little one is trying to say, no, I don't want to go with you, or I'm not ready to transition. And so giving them a way to say that without flopping on the floor or without screaming or without hitting their head would empower them to be, it's okay for them to say no, but it needs to be safe. So I remember having a student who did this, and we actually used a Big Mac. It's a red button you can record your voice on to say, you could have him say no, or if that's what you think he's trying to communicate, or it might be he doesn't want to leave what he's doing. And you could say, 2 more minutes, please. And you record it on the button and you could say, oh, I see you look frustrated. Do you want 2 more minutes? And teach him, he has a button to say 2 more minutes. And then nobody pushes him or pressures him to leave for 2 more minutes. And he might just want to know, like, I have a voice and that 2 more minutes is exactly what I needed. Or he may throw it and you have to try something new.
Yeah.
But really,
But
there's such a trial and
also-
error.
Yeah, but also kids need to know when you say something, it's gonna happen too. You
Mhm.
cannot, because once that you say, okay, you want 2 more minutes, I could give you 2 more minutes. Then it's 2 more minutes in everything that you do. Then to me, when like if we are at the playground, if I know I'm gonna have a hard time with a 2-year-old, they don't know the time, but I said, how many minutes you need to we play? How more minutes we should have? 5 minutes or 6 minutes?
Mhm.
And then the kid will say 6 minutes. I will tell Siri, put 6 minutes on the timer. And Siri will repeat that. Then when they start the sound, I say, oh, the 6 minutes are done. They said, they know. But
Yes.
the consistent, if you change your, 2 more minutes, I'm going to give you 2 minutes because I am listening to you.
Mhm.
They got the 2 minutes gonna be in everything else. And then it's other kid that will say other 5 minutes. For me, I care for children from the 11th month to almost 5 years old. Then, and also this, I told the big kids, okay, who we take care first? The babies. Why we take care of the babies first? Because they don't know how to wait. They don't know how to say, I need you to take care of me. That's why we take care of them first. And everybody knows. And because I care for the children from, 3 months to 4, whatever time they spend here with me, everybody knows what we do here. And everybody, now that kids are 18 months, almost 19, they know they want to walk with holding. I have little strings hanging in my wagon, and they want to walk holding the wagon because they see the other kids doing that.
Yeah.
Then every kid that I have, they start learning what we do, when we do it, how we do it. And it's not changing sometimes at all because it's what happens. Terry say it's time to go. We go, but I don't have no problem with the kids. They're ready to go.
Yep. Yeah. Siri is so helpful. I use Siri with my own children too. I'm like, okay, we're leaving the pool in 5 minutes. Um, totally. I agree with you on that, especially when you're talking about a flow, teaching the concept of time. But I do think there are times when there are certain kids who are really, really struggling and need that extra, like, I know I'm heard, I know I'm seen. And sometimes they just want to know their words are heard. So when I gave you the example of asking for 2 more minutes, I think it's more in the context of that little one has been displaced. Or sometimes they just want to know that they're heard and saying, like, if you say, okay, you need 2 more minutes, and then they leave immediately, just because they wanted you to hear them say, I need 2 more minutes, but they really didn't. So there's that piece of gauging, and it really depends on, like you said, if you're trying to transition 10 kids at once from the park back home, it's really, you can't wait for all of them to like get in line, right? So there are some times when you're like, we really can't give 2 more minutes. Then I would not use that as a strategy if it's a time that you cannot give 2 more minutes. But if it's something like pushing their chair in after eating snack and everyone's safe and accounted for, that wouldn't harm anyone to give a child 2 more minutes to push in their chair after snack. Some little things. So I think you just have to gauge what's happening in the whole context of the program and the kids you're seeing, but also where that kid is that day. And I know like other kids I've seen regress when there's trauma or chaos at home. Sometimes you'll see these big regressions. Like I had a child in my program whose parents were going through a divorce, and everything at home seemed turned upside down for that little one. And so we saw a lot more behavior. And so it was important to give them power when was appropriate or when we could acknowledge, like, you have a voice and I hear it. I see you, I see your needs. But I wouldn't say, but as the adult running the program, you can see when is it appropriate to do that and when isn't it, and gauge that. But does anybody else have any advice for this provider, or also questions of your own, anything that's happening in your own programs or with the children you're working with?
Also, when I tried to the little ones start learning, I will name other kid. Hey, can you say spoon? And we'll say spoon. Can you say it? And then I go around the table, and then I will ask to the little one, and we'll try to say spoon.
Yeah.
Because they want to do what the other kids do. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the power of peer models. And like no one can teach a 3-year-old boy to talk like a 3-year-old boy can, who's talking already can teach that 3-year-old. So I love if you're teaching spoon and a 3-year-old boy says it, a nonverbal 3-year-old boy is more likely to imitate them than you. Okay, if there aren't any more questions, we can wrap up. I'm so grateful to all of you for coming, and feel free to reach out to us at any time if you guys have questions that come up or anything in the next month that you'd love for us to address in the next office hour. Do you have any questions or suggestions?
I do have a question.
Mhm.
So I have a little one, like infant, that is behind on some gross motor stuff. Do you guys have anything in your library that would be great for me to try something new? Like, so this little one is almost 10 months old, is receiving OTPT. We got them sitting up independently, so exciting. They hate tummy time. Can roll over, but not like the barrel roll. It's a single roll way. Just really want to help encourage the movement because with the child's temperament, they're just fine to stay in one place. They don't have that motivation to go after things. So I was hoping like if there was a new toy or material that was really exciting. I thought that would be so cool. I see your comment. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I've checked out that kit. I think that might be a good kit for me to try.
Yes, it is a great one. I'm so glad you mentioned that one. That is a great one. I was just thinking off the top of my head, we have they're called sensory rollers, but they are balls that have
I
different
have them.
textures. You do? Okay, I love
Yes.
those. Also, like the floor gel tiles are fun because the more they wiggle and move on them, the more they can see the oil and the glitter move. I'm trying to think, Chris, anything else off the top of your head that would be great for infants?
I also see an upseat.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
looking right now, the upseat.
Mhm.
And any of the switch adapted toys, like we want kids who have any kind of motor disability to understand that all of their movements carry some power and control over their environment. And if they're having trouble manipulating and getting to their toys, a switch adapted toy with a switch is a great option.
Okay, that'd
We've
be
got
cool.
lots of really fun switch adapted toys in the library.
Oh, we
Yeah.
do. We have a train that moves. We have a bubble. Well, I think the train does bubbles, and we have a car that moves. And you can use, do we have
The
something that's
switch
fan activated? I know we have music and sound. There's a ton. Look at if you have access to the Loan Library, there is a switch adapted list on there. And there's also, I think there's a gross motor list too, which might be good places to start and just peruse and see what you think this little one would like. Um, okay. You guys, if there's nothing else, I wanted to give you a quick plug for our office hour next month. Our topic is going to be sensory supports, and I'm really excited to coach on this one. You guys, there's so many. I'm going to teach about what sensory supports do for the brain and how to use them as tools to get kids in the right state to learn. Anyway, it's really fun. So I hope you can make it and reach out if you need anything. Thank you guys so much for coming.